Hello, everyone. You know, the term private equity often invokes an image of a company whose sole purpose is profit for its investors. But done right, a private equity firm can be, as today's guest puts it, a force for good. With this mantra, he has guided the Riverside Company to create opportunities and win-win for both investors and companies. Coupled with his philanthropic endeavors, Stuart Kohl is truly a force for good for businesses, investors, and the community at large. Stuart Kohl of the Riverside Company, we welcome you to the broadcast today.
Thank you, Leon.
Yeah, good to have you here. People may not fully understand the phrase private equity. What's a private equity firm do?
We manage capital on behalf of third parties and ourselves, and we deploy it into companies where we perceive an opportunity to make them bigger and better, and thereby more valuable. Ultimately, we seek to harvest that extra value we created and return it to our investors. And all of that is done in the private market. So while mostly what we read about in the business press would be the public equity markets, the biggest companies where their stocks are trading, most companies in America are not publicly traded. They're closely held, owned by families, owned by private equity firms.
You have a philosophy of a force for good philosophy. Tell me about that and how that figures into the Riverside Company and what you as the co-CEO do at Riverside.
No, thank you for asking. I feel passionately about this, partially because I think there are a lot of misimpressions about private equity, and we're often vilified. Let me start at the highest level, if I may, which is I believe in the free enterprise capitalist system. It's far from perfect, but it's better than all others, and it has lifted billions, and I'm not exaggerating there, around the world out of poverty. It constantly should be tweaked and made better. Appropriate regulation and law is important, making sure people behave ethically, et cetera. But it is a winning system.
You're involved in healthcare, education, and the arts. Tell me about why you do that and some of the institutions you may be involved in.
I feel very blessed. Literally, I never expected to be doing what I'm doing and to have the ability to impact the world the way that perhaps even my relatively modest contributions can impact the world. So I want to take advantage of that. Many people take advantage of it through their will. When they die, they leave money to various good causes. I prefer to be selfish. I'd like to see the benefits of that while I'm alive. I'd like to also try to marry my time and treasure, if you will, by being personally active at the same time as I'm using my wealth to be active. So I've expressed that in a number of ways, but the one I would like to particularly focus on now is a cause called Velosano. So the words are Latin for swift cure. And Velosano is at the core a bike event held each year that raises money to fund cancer research, conducted right here in Cleveland, Ohio, by our friends, our neighbors, our doctors and scientists, principally through the Cleveland Clinic. Lifetime to date, we've raised $40 million. That's leveraged another $80 million plus in NIH and other contributions, and all that money is going immediately to fund life-saving cancer research.
There's a kindness in you that must come from somewhere. Where does this kindness come from, and how does it impact your life?
I think most of us learn this around our kitchen tables. As my mentor, Mort Mandel, used to say, he inhaled it. The good work he's done, the kindness he's expressed has gone on, and he credits his parents, and I think I would say the same thing. And the interesting thing about kindness is it's an infinite sum. The more you give, the more you get. There's not a finite amount. I can tell the story if you want, but I Ubered here this morning, and my Uber driver got a ticket on the way to pick me up, and she was very upset about that. This is how she lives.
Yeah.
I was able to give her the cash for the ticket.
Yeah.
It wasn't her fault. She went down the wrong street. I'll get that back many times over, and the whole sum of kindness will grow. Unfortunately, I worry that the opposite is true, that evil is not finite, and evil begets evil. In fact, Stuart Musinski and the folks at Values in Action are fond of saying it will take 5 acts of kindness to remove 1 act of evilness, if you will. And we need to be fighting evilness too.
Do you take these kinds of values into the workplace?
We had 2 simple principles: live by the golden rule and leave great references in our wake. And we said we'll do that even if it makes us a little less money. Because and this now goes back to the late 1980s, we had witnessed some bad behavior in private equity and finance, and we didn't want to be a part of that. If you asked either of us, his name is Bela Sigathi, if you asked Bela or myself today, I think what we would tell you is actually we've made more money for our investors and ourselves by following a values-first approach to our work, because it's led great people to want to come to work and stay for us. The great resignation that we went through, we didn't have the problems many other firms did. It leads owners of businesses to want to bring us in as a partner or to sell their company to us. It's a very important choice, and they pick us because of our values. And investors, in many cases, choose to invest in us because they believe in those values too. We're finding new ways to express them. So we recently joined an organization called Ownership Works, which exists to give more employees the opportunity to have a piece of the American pie, to own a piece of their company and to get paid out. And we're very excited about that.
How do your employees take this?
I think our folks love the fact that values matter. I think they love the fact that they've seen us behave in ways that demonstrate that values matter. And again, they see how over time, not overnight, it comes to benefit all of us. It's an infinite sum.
There's a ripple effect. You drop a stone into the water, and there are ripples that widen and widen and widen. That's really what we're talking about right here when you talk about values and you talk about kindness.
That's a great analogy for it. And I think we see it in the workplace. We see it in the community. I'm not the only one at my firm by a long shot who is charitable and involved and philanthropic. I think we have many of us, maybe all of us, give back in different ways.
You talk about your parents and what you learned at your parents' kitchen table. Do you see that same kind of philosophy in Stuart Musinski's approach to Kindland?
Kindland does many things, and now at the highest level, the Kindland effort, which you're such an important and effective part of, is to promote this everywhere. But I'm going to just take a moment and focus on what he's doing in the schools. We need to intervene in some negative cycles and try to create the positive, try to find the infinite good that we talked about. And the results are dramatic. It shows that human nature is to be kind. And there are actually a lot of scientific studies that show that when we do kind things, the chemicals that are released in our brains, it actually it's a selfish thing to be kind. It actually makes us feel better.
What should we do to get to where we need to be as a people?
There's no easy answers, but education always is a key. And I love the word opportunity. I love anything which gives more people opportunity. Not everybody's going to accept the challenge of opportunity. I like the quote, opportunity sometimes shows up at your door wearing overalls. It requires work.
When you volunteered to pay the traffic citation to that Uber driver just today, as you're on your way here, you did more than pay a ticket or put money in someone's hand. You did more than, you touched a heart.
I hope so. I mean, I think so.
There's a lesson to be learned there. By giving a helping hand, you not only gave money, you gave your heart. And that's what this whole thing is about, even at Riverside Company, where you could have made a lot more money, but you gave your heart and something came back to you.
One of the greatest joys for us is seeing a company grow and succeed. And It's very tangible, it's very measurable, it's measured in jobs. There's also an economic benefit to the at least the managers of the company in our format. And as I mentioned, through Ownership Works, we're going to look to extend that to all of them. I would encourage your viewers to watch a video when the Ownership Works model was when they announced that a company called CHI Overhead Doors was being sold, and the employees were going to receive their share of the profits. People received 2 to 10 times their annual salary. It was there were tears, there were hugs, there were cheers. And I started this discussion talking about my belief in democratic capitalism, and I'm worried about both democracy and capitalism right now. And more of that, I think, would be very good for all of us.
In many ways, your mother and dad are still talking at the kitchen table. They're talking through you, and you're talking to the rest of us.
I'd like to think so. I believe so.
Yeah, we could call this lessons learned at the kitchen table.
And Mort Mandel, he talked about inhaling it.
Yeah.
I think that's the right. I suspect you did the same.
Yeah. Well, Stuart Kohl, we appreciate you being on the broadcast with us.
Thank you, Leon.
We've been chatting with Stuart Kohl, co-CEO of the Riverside Company, about his approach to kindness. It has been an important part of his life, continues to be an important part of his life, his philosophy. That's going to do it for the Kindland Report. I'm Leon Bibb.